Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode number 790, which means basically that this project is ongoing for 790 consecutive days without the day off or any hiccup or, cheat day. Basically, every single day I write the blog post, kind of journal. So I usually write something about the day that we've spent and what was happening on that day, or if it's too dull and too boring. I usually also share my thoughts about specific things or different kind of areas of life and whatever expertise I might have. And also on the same day, I record that podcast similar to this one. So whether you're listening the audio on Spotify or Apple, or you're watching the video on Spotify or YouTube, this is exactly the same episode, and it's usually embedded in the blog post. So the best central point for consuming the Blunt Force Healing podcast or content is basically to go to the blog post, and you can read the blog post and listen to the podcast in the same place. And they usually complement each other, because sometimes I forget to say something in the podcast while I write something in the blog, and vice versa. So today I'll be talking about our third day. I believe that was our third day. Technically it was fourth day, because we arrived on Tenerife Tuesday evening or night, but really we spent the first day Wednesday, then Thursday we moved from our initial accommodation that we spent 2 nights in to the other side of Tenerife, to the north. And this update or this episode will be about Friday. And Friday was the first time we actually left the villa or via the accommodation that we rented out, the big house that I am currently in. And I can show you a little bit. I might do a tour around it, but just wanted to show you. So there is a fire there, and as you can see, and then obviously I'm in the room here, and also we have a pool table and a couple of other amenities that are very nice and feel like luxury to some extent, but for some people it's nothing special. For some it would be extra luxury. We just feel comfortable here, having a fireplace and enough space, and the kitchen and everything. Bathrooms, even jacuzzi that we barely use, but it's nice to have. And private pool, garage in this area, especially north of Tenerife. It's a lovely place, close to the big cities. So far, we like it. And it was the first day on Friday that we actually drove somewhere in north, except for the shop. And on Friday, we decided to visit Las Teresitas, Playa de las Teresitas, which is probably one of 2 or 3 golden sand beaches on Tenerife, because Tenerife is a volcano island or volcanic island. Most of the beaches that are naturally created are black sand beaches, which I will be talking probably a lot in coming episodes as we explore them. But obviously it's a touristic region, so many tourists are expecting golden sand beaches, and there's only one natural golden beach south of Tenerife, very close to the airport. It's called La Tejita, I think, and this is the only natural beach that has, I would say, white to golden sand. It's not specifically golden as you would see on kind of best beaches in the world, but it's obviously natural and it's not black. While there are a couple of smaller beaches, like the private ones. I think 2 specific beaches are created artificially, and they are, the one that is known is Las Teresitas, and there's one more, I think, beside Ritz-Carlton, down the southwest of Tenerife. It's a private beach, I believe, so, but they are all artificial because there is no white sand or golden sand beaches on this island. And for that reason, to create them, they needed to first build a barrier off the coast, a rocky barrier to prevent ocean from removing that sand and taking it back to the waters, deeper waters, and kind of wiping out the beach. And then they needed to bring the golden sand from elsewhere and use it to create the beach. And Las Teresitas is probably the oldest and the only and the most famous. You will see probably that in many guides and many blogs. It's a big, long stretch of sand created as far as, I think, 60s and 70s. And it was quite an effort, as I read about it. They had to not only level the ground in the area where they created it. It's northeast of Santa Cruz de Tenerife, so the biggest city in Tenerife, on the east side. And there's that stretch of sand was, I think, the design and creation of it, or engineering around it, was started in the 60s, and it really got open for public in 73 or something like that. They had a lot of challenges there, obviously. They brought a lot of golden sand. They bought it from Sahara in Africa, and they brought it there. There were even smaller challenges that I think they resolved. But they brought a lot of red ants and scorpions even from Sahara Desert with sand, unknowingly. Along the way, I think they alleviated that, and even though they built the barrier, the sand was really flushed out a little bit over years, and after 25 years, I think in 1998, they had to buy more sand to replenish and make sure that the beach remains golden and sandy. We drove there from our accommodation. It was about 40 minutes, 35-40 minutes drive. We had to use the highway or the motorway towards Santa Cruz de Tenerife, and then use the bypasses and go through the Santa Cruz de Tenerife towards the La Teresitas. It was a fairly easy drive and smooth drive. It was a bit complicated in Santa Cruz because it's a big city, and I never been there, and some of the streets and signage might be well known or understood by the locals, but if you're new to the area, it's always a little bit tricky. But we managed to get there it's a huge thing, not only for locals living in Santa Cruz and all around Tenerife, but for all of the tourists coming to Tenerife. And it's obviously packed in season, but even outside of the regular season or summer season that you would consider, Tenerife has good weather pretty much all year round. So even on Friday in November, there was plenty of people. The weather was good, and despite the car parks being very spacious, there were very little spaces available, especially closer to the best part of the beach. The funny thing is that in 70s, when they created that beach, there were also a couple of kiosks created along the beach that are used for the bars and, you know, places to sip a drink and get some kind of snacks, with sunbeds to be rented out and things like that. And these kiosks remain from that time. So 73, 75, I think these years they were built, and obviously they might have been repainted or kind of fixed along the way, but they're the same kiosks that were built there. So they have over 50 years now. And the bars are pretty pricey, and it's not the typical beach that we would go for if we knew, but we wanted to check that out, and we did. It's typical beach for majority of people that just want to go there, leave on the sunbed, go to the ocean from time to time, sip a drink and relax. We prefer secluded beaches, more natural beaches, and kind of more scenic. It's not as scenic of a beach as you would expect, albeit it's nice. What I did like about it, it's spacious, and it has mountains behind it, or kind of mountainous terrain, and a lot of car park space that is free of charge. But there's more disadvantages to this beach because it tends to be crowded, especially in the busy times and busy days. It's not as clean as I would expect, although it was clean. It's not the cleanest beach. The fact that they have that barrier that prevents the sand being flushed out, it also prevents exchange of water in a way that it does on a natural beach. So it's not bad or it's not dirty, but still it's not as clean and crystal clear as it would be if the beach didn't have barrier and ocean was freely exchanging the water. And on top of that, it's very close to Santa Cruz de Tenerife, so the biggest city that has the port and oil rigs, and there are big oil tankers and other ships traveling to and from the port. So while they do not sail close to the shore of the beach itself, and it's the Atlantic Ocean, so the waters are exchanging or refreshing very easily, so it won't get as dirty as it would in the sea, or more enclosed, I would say, the water region. It still kind of feels weird to just swim in the sea or sit at the beach and look at those oil tankers having beautiful mountains behind you. It just doesn't fit. It's typical tourist beach. So we enjoyed a bit of sunbathing and then a walk alongside the beach, and then went back home. So we spent quite a lot of time there, almost majority of the day, just to get some sun out. And that was pretty much our day. Then we got some groceries and came back home and made dinner, which was also great. We knew what we were doing. We decided to not go for any restaurant because it's hit and miss. And when we made our dinner, we knew what we were eating. And besides, there's nothing that we're missing here in that house, so we don't need to go to any restaurant. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Stay tuned and see you again in tomorrow's episode.